So I bought this Siberian Elm off of Facebook Marketplace in September of 23. Looks pretty bushy right now. But this video is going to be about the air layer that I did and more about just kind of the potential that you can find in trees and how you can get good bonsai material out of practically nothing. So back in September 23, this is it the day after I brought it home. That's the carnage after trimming it up. I bought it at night. I just found it, messaged them, instantly went and picked it up. So I didn't really get any good clips of it when I picked it up. But here it is after I trimmed it. And you can see it's not much to look at. It's just this big Siberian elm. The person I bought it from said it had been growing from a seed, and it was only about 5 years old, which I find kind of hard to believe. That thing was thick. But anyways, I trimmed it up, and then here it is the following spring in April of 24. You can see it's popping out new growth. I also happened to be moving that month, so I'm going to kill two birds with one stone. Just trim it up a little bit so it's easier to move. And also those branches were just too long. So using this opportunity just to shorten those up a little bit and get it squared away for new growth that year. So there we go. Here it is the following month, May of 24. And this is when I decided to do the air layer. I knew when I got the tree it was too tall. I could trunk chop it or something, but I thought, let's just do an air layer for fun. Maybe get 2 trees out of this. So that's the spot I'm going to do it. I'll wrap some plastic around the cut. And this is just cocoa fiber. You can get a brick out of it for like $10 at a big box store or a nursery. Put it in water. Put it around the cut and wrap it up real tight with plastic. Here it is a few months later in August. As you can see, it's grown out quite a bit, and it's grown out on top, which is a good sign. I've done a lot of air layers. Some fail, some succeed, but when they have growth on top, that means it's going to succeed most likely, unless something goes bad after that. So as you can see, it's got not just a little growth, but a lot. So that's good news. So I trimmed it up. I was tempted to take that off and see if there are any roots. I think I see a root or two, but it's a little late in the year to be harvesting an air layer, so I waited. Here it is the following February. It's like about 1 day before March. And I decided to check on the air layer just to see. Kind of a sneak peek. Pretty sure I see a root right there. So I take it apart, and no, that was not a root. I don't know what it was. I swore it looked like one, but I don't see it now. So just wrap it back up and wait. Here it is in April. Grown out yet again, both on top and below. So these things do take some patience. I'm not the best at being patient, which you'll see here in a moment. Here it is in May, and this was kind of significant. I thought something looked off with it, and on closer inspection, I see there are aphids. Those are aphid pods with, eggs, aphid eggs. Nothing sounds grosser than that. And it's all over that thing, which is kind of unusual because Siberian elms don't normally have aphids. I've got tons of Siberian elms. So I trim it up, and then I spray it down with that neem oil, and I really doused it with neem oil quite a bit. And I let it sit for maybe half a day, just to kill off whatever aphids might be left. And I rinse it off, get all that neem oil off of there. And then the following month in June, you can see it just flushed out with growth, which is a great sign, of course. That's typically what I see when there's an aphid problem, and then I get rid of the aphids. The tree just explodes with growth after that, once you get rid of those parasites. Even though I just trimmed it a month ago, it was getting pretty out of hand. I wanted to keep the structure, even though I don't have any structure of it yet. I still wanted to keep it kind of compact, and I don't want it to get long and leggy. So I trimmed it up. Then in July, the following month, we had a really unusually cool week, like down in the 70s, which is weird for July, but it had grown out again. This was me being a little impatient, but I wanted to check on the air layer. So that's what I did. So I trim it up all around so I can actually see what's happening in there. Get rid of all the wires and zip ties. Suspense is killing me. Lo and behold, I am certain that has to be roots. Which would make sense because it's been on there for over a year now and it's been growing the whole time. So I would have been shocked if there weren't roots at this point. And since it's a cool week, I thought I could get away with it. I'm going to harvest the air layer. I do not recommend doing this in July. And it almost bit me, which you'll find out here in a minute. So again, I don't recommend harvesting an air layer in July unless you're in a really cool environment in general. But the coolness didn't last. It got hot like a week later. And I'm going to drag this into the garage and do it in there. If you've seen other videos on air layers, you've probably heard the term sphagnum moss, and you might be familiar with this, so forgive me if so. But for anybody who's not, sphagnum moss is usually what they recommend you use on an air layer, and I use it as well. But this cocoa fiber has been working for me. There's a root, I see it. There's another. But the cocoa fiber, one downside with it that I haven't experienced a lot with sphagnum moss is that it tends to come off in chunks. So when you're checking it like this, like a chunk of the cocoa fiber will come off and it will tear roots out with it, which is not at all what you want. So that's one downside, but the upsides are pretty good too. It's cheap, it's available, it's readily available. But you can see how it kind of wants to come off a little chunky in certain spots. Otherwise, I have no complaints other than that one thing. But I'm just trying to be kind of careful and get some of that cocoa peat off of there, or cocoa fiber off of there. There's some of those chunks. It's not a ton of roots, and if I was smarter, I would have waited another year. But I guess I'm not, because I'm going to do it anyway. So now that I got all that cocoa fiber off there, and those roots are hanging down, I'm going to trunk chop it right underneath it. But I realize, oh, I don't want to chop the roots while I'm at it, so I put the plastic back on and get the roots out of the way. In hindsight, this was kind of ill thought out. I was just so excited to finally be doing it. Got out my power saw, got everything lined up. And there we go. So I'm pretty excited about this thing. So I'm going to put it in some soil now, and then we'll take a closer look at the structure and kind of see what we're dealing with, what direction we want to go with it. And I'll show you some of the progress and the few ups and downs from this air layer process. It's now been exactly 1 month. Well, I take it back, 1 month and 1 day since I harvested this. I got in some new bonsai soil, put it in a fairly big pot. It'll be a few years before I'm able to put it in a bonsai pot. So that's why I'm calling it a pre-bonsai for now. Give it a good soak. I want to make sure there's no air pockets in there. So I've got the video sped up, as you can see. I probably only captured, I don't know, half of how much watering I actually did with it. I really thoroughly watered it. And there it is. Now I got it potted up. So now that I've got it off of the main tree and I've trimmed it up, you can start to see some good potential there. It's still raw. It's still in its, very early raw form. But definitely some potential. And it's got such a thick trunk. I mean, to grow one from seed, it would take so long to get that thick. So air layers are kind of a hack, really. Now that I'm looking closer at it, I'm going to get rid of some of these lower branches. Like those. I'm also going to do kind of a branch chop and get rid of most of that top right branch because it's really kind of unnecessary. I think it sort of takes away from it too much. So I try to be very careful when doing this, hence the funny faces I'm making. You got to put some oomph into it to get it, but also I'm trying to not rock that thing around in the soil too much. I want it to stay stable as possible. So there it is. And I'm happy with the cut. After I do it and I look at it, I'm thinking, yeah, that was the right move. And things start to get a little dicey from here for a little bit. I'll show you. I put it in a spot that gets what I thought was mostly shade right there, but it's actually about half shade, half sun. And I checked on it, a few days or a week later, and you can see it's got a lot of yellowing leaves. It's not looking good. So I'm a little worried. I knew it was risky doing the air layer in July. I want to move it to a even shadier spot. So I take it from my back patio, which my back patio faces east. I put it up back there where it'll get some morning light, but then shade for the rest of the day. And I'm going to keep a very close eye on it. Here it is, end of July. It's been 10 days now and it's looking bad. It's got a couple of green leaves, but otherwise looking bad. There weren't many roots on that air layer. Did I mention I don't recommend doing the air layer in July? Here it is, August 10th. And at this point, I think it's started to stabilize a little bit, but still in kind of bad shape. But I go in for a closer look, and lo and behold, look at that. New buds popping out. It's the best sign you could ask for. At that point, I knew we were in the clear. A tree can't be growing and dying at the same time. So when you see new growth, that is always a good sign. Take that with a grain of salt. There could be an exception to the rule, but that's the rule most of the time. Here it is about a week or so later. You can see that new growth is starting to pop out everywhere. I'm breathing a sigh of relief. I didn't do all that work for nothing. And this cool raw material is going to make it after all. Still has a long way to go, of course. And I'm sure there will be a lot of changes along the way. That upper structure is probably not going to go the distance, but the point is that it lived. And here it is just today, just out on my lunch break. I just walked outside, took some footage of it. Still going strong. Still got another month or so of growing. So I'm confident it's going to make it at this point. So the moral of this story is that you can make some pretty good bonsai material out of what would otherwise be just kind of a junk tree that somebody might throw away. Thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day.